Welcome back to our new series celebrating the full release of Captain of Industry. We're playing on a very cool looking map, Insula Mortis, also a big map with a lot of challenges. Follow this series to learn how to master the game or just enjoy this fun ride. Let's dive in. In our last episode, episode 18, we started with nuclear. We now have our nuclear facility over here, level 1. We'll get into the future into level 2 and even level 3, but we have a first one over here. This is working, so we don't have a problem of electricity anymore. But we still have some problems, right? We have a problem of diesel and crude oil. We're not making enough of this. And we also have a slight problem on food production. Our food production is not enough. So we're definitely gonna do those two things today, but a couple of others too. So as always, let's do a bit of a before and after. This is the before, right? This is the end of episode 18. We've started to cover over here the copper to make some space for farms. Over here we have a big mine of coal that is completely empty. And over there we've started to cut the trees. We've started to get some soil because we need soil obviously for farms, right? This needs to come from somewhere. It's not like we can make soil. Now let's move into episode 19. And here it is, quite the change, right? You can see we have done a lot. I've been busy. Let's start at the top over here. Slowly but surely we're going through the coal and the mountain. The mountain, all of this rock has enabled us to close some of the ore mine and the coal, of course, to keep going. We will need to find a sustainable coal source in the future, of course, but we do have some time. Next to it, we have also connected over there. All of this used to be the sea. This used to be completely the sea. We have dumped a lot of soil and rocks to arrive all the way over here. And now we're starting to get some of this sand. Over here, we have cut all of the trees, but we've actually replanted some. So this is now my sustainable forest, the forest that we cut from time to time, because we don't have the old forest that were here and there. Those ones have disappeared, so I could use the soil for my farm. We have also destroyed a part of this mountain over here. This is quartz. The quartz we can actually dump and we can also transform into sand. So we've been cutting this quite a lot. Then over here, as I said, we have completely closed this big mine. This used to be our coal mine. This coal mine is no more. And this has enabled us to put a new fuel production. We'll talk about it in detail, of course. The old fuel production has disappeared. It used to be there. And now this is a water production. It is a water facility because we need a lot more water than before. Before we used to have a small water facility over here. Now we needed a way bigger one. And we are using the space for even more farms. As you can see, we have way more farms. We used to only have those 12 over here. Now we have 9 on top this side, plus 2 over here and 1 over there. I am separating all of this for a reason I'll explain to you just now, but you can see we have way more farms, right? So with this, we'll be even able to increase our population if needed in the future. I haven't touched the food production over there though. But before we talk about these big changes, in particular of fuel production and our new water facility over here and some of those other facilities that you may see there and there, there's been quite a few other small changes. I wanted to talk to you about one big mistake that I made because I want to make sure you avoid to make that mistake. The mistake that I made is I was well on my way to transform all of these trucks into whole trucks, right? They're way bigger, of course. This one is 180, this one is only 60. So I was like, let's transform all of them. If we look over here, I used to have more than 100. Now we have way less than that. But I had forgotten one thing, is that this whole truck, you have two types. You have this one over here. This can transform your liquids. So water, sour water, diesel, all of these can be transported into this one. Then you have this one for the loose products. So this is your coal, your dirt, all those type of things. But then you still need to transform some other things, right? Like your unit materials. Basically all of those things over here, things like the wood, the concrete, plastic, the poly, and even, the basic things like iron, steel, and copper. All of these needs to be transported by trucks too, or by belts. And while we have this very nice bus over here that's doing a lot of the production, we still needed to transport some of them from time to time. And again, these whole trucks can only transport loose products. They cannot transport these unit products like plastic. So you need to make sure that you actually keep quite a number of trucks, or you have belts everywhere on the map. We're gonna do a bit of both. So, right now, I think we're gonna completely stop. We're gonna keep around 30 of those trucks, but I'm also going to start adding more of those belts. It could be belts, for example, from this over here to that side over there. It could be to have some of those other productions like the concrete to be, closer to this or closer to this, so that we don't need trucks to transport many of those, let's say, end products. So again, don't make the mistake of upgrading all of your trucks into those big ones. I'd love for us to have another trucks, a big one, for those unit products, but right now it doesn't exist. Another quick thing I wanted to show you is I've added this small production at the bottom over there. We used to just have this, a small, loose storage for sand, but the problem is I didn't have any sand left. Yes, I still had sand, for example, over here, this is sand, this is sand. I could have dug it up like I did over here in the past, but actually I thought, now we're making tons of quartz, I was getting tons of quartz over here, so let's start using it. And that's why we have this loose storage of quartz that goes into this crush, transform the quartz into quartz crushed, and then the quartz crushed goes into this one to make sand. Do note that this one is 144. One of these for sand is only 48, so you're gonna need 3 if you want a perfect ratio. But yeah, with this, we are basically actually making sand. So with this, I have more reserves. In the last episode, we also unlocked the assembly robotic. So you may be wondering why I haven't been using them everywhere. Before I answer, let me show you, the differences. So this was the highest assembly electric that we had, level 2. For example, transforming 12 steel into 24 mechanical parts. Now with this one, the robotic will be able to double. It's 24 to make 48. So you don't get more efficient in terms of, the ratio. It's just that it's a higher ratio. So basically, instead of having 2 of these assembly electrics level 2, we can have only 1 assembly robotic. It is good in particular if you don't have a lot of space, but it's not going to completely change things. We can compare also the electricity, people, etc. So this one is 8 people, 150 kilowatts, and we said the robotic is the equivalent of 2 of these, right? So we're talking about 316 people. If we look over here, now this is 250, so it's a bit better in terms of electricity, and it's only 2 people, so it's a lot better in terms of people. But we're gonna need 4 teraflops, a new resource. And right now, the only way to make teraflop is to build those mainframe computers. In the future, meaning the next episode, we'll get another way to make teraflop, but in this episode, the only way we can is to use mainframe. Looking at the research tree over here with basic computing, this is where we got the assembly robotic. This is also where we got the mainframe computer. We'll need to go into microchips and electronics level 3 before we get into data center, which is a better way to make teraflops. But again, we're not there yet. So this is going to create 8 teraflops, but it's going to cost 2 megawatts of power. So now in terms of power, we are way worse than we were before, and it's going to take 12 people. So the reality is, in terms of people, at this point, we're still better, because this was 8 times 2, 16. This is only 2, so we have a bonus of 14. And this is only 12 for 8, and we only need 4 over here, right? So this is basically 6 people for each of these. So basically this is 8 people versus 16. So it's half the number of people. This is better. But there's also another change. These ones require maintenance level 1, right? This is maintenance level 1, 2.8. Now this is maintenance level 2, 2.8 also. And this is also maintenance level 2, but it's way more. It's almost 11 per minute. So now that means we need a maintenance level 2 depot, right? And this is gonna be 28 people and also more energy. Of course, not like you need 28 people for just one mainframe or one robotic. But now you can start to see that basically it's not such a great deal. It's not a bad deal, especially if you have a lot of energy, because remember, this is also 2 megawatts. And also if you don't have a lot of space, then you can, half the space that you're taking. Even if, again, you will need to build this new building. So maybe, you have half the space on this, but then you have this new building plus also this new building over here, right? And by the way, this new building, I said, is 28 and some energy, but it's also some resources, right? So now you need to produce mechanical parts and electronics level 2. So that means you need an electronics level 2 production just for this, which is, the PCB and the electronics level 2. So again, it's not terrible, but it's also not a clear-cut great decision, especially with this mainframe computer. This may change when we get the data center. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below if you agree, disagree with me, but again, be careful, don't just upgrade all of them to robotic right away. Now let's talk about the farms over here. I mean, I dumped a lot of soil into the mine, right? The mine has disappeared. You can see a bit of copper there. The copper is still there on the ground, right? So it hasn't disappeared, but we have a lot more farms now. We have also a new water production. You can see for this water production, we have 3 pipes of 450. Each of those pipes is for one line. We have one pipe that's going on this side. This is this one all the way. Then we have the pipe just below that is going on the other side. And then we have the last pipe, this one over there, is going for this whole line there. We don't have fertilizer at all anymore. For now, I'm using without fertilizer at all. And this is why, by the way, I have deleted actually our sour water contract that we used to have there to make fertilizer. We can maybe rebuild it in the future, but for now, I'm doing it just with water. There's no fertilizer at all. We've also upgraded all of the greenhouses to level 2. So they will take more people from 18 to 24, but they will also produce more. You know, we're producing more. They will consume a bit more water. They will also consume more fertilizer if we were to give it, but we're not. So anyway, with this, we'll be producing more. So again, high level, you know, we have the water coming there and there are 2 level and we're coming there. Then we have the outputs. This is the same as before. It all goes on this line over here in the middle. You know, all of them are going over there, then goes under. I have upgraded this one to level 3. So U-shape conveyor level 3. So with this, we can transport 450 per minute. So it's never full so far. And then it goes, you know, into our production. Now with this, as you can see, we are now providing all types of food. No problem. All types of food. There are some reserves. There is no issue. Even have some reserves of food over here. I didn't actually perfectly align all of the productions. Maybe some of them were slightly over, slightly under, you know, those type of things. But for now, this all seems to go up. We'll see when I increase the population in the future. We do have a couple of those farms that are doing something different. They actually used to be somewhere else. You know, we used to have some farms over here. We used to have one farm over there. Now I have deleted it and we are getting all of this that was at level 3. We're now putting everything at level 2, right? Remember, this used to be at level 3. Also over here, by the way, this used to be at level 3. Now it's at level 2. So anyway, yes, we have this one that is doing the tree planting. It's not a lot per minute, but it's actually more than what I need. So that's not a problem. And that is why it's just an irrigated farm. I didn't upgrade it because we don't need it upgraded. Then we have this one that is going to be focused on sugarcane. And this one over here on canola. Because remember, we need the sugar and the canola over here for the food, right? And I could actually truck it maybe in the future. Maybe actually we're gonna in the future move this potentially there and just, you know, belt it. But anyway, this is how I'm making my cooking oil and my sugar, right? This hasn't changed, right? We're putting the canola into cooking oil plus animal feed is going over here. And then on this one is the sugar cane plus water to make sugar and a bit of biomass. The biomass is also going over there to make some compost, and then we're just dropping the compost into the ocean. I've also moved my medical supply production. It used to be somewhere over here, I think over there. Now we moved it next to it, so it's using the same water facilities, because we used to have a small water facility over here. Now, you know, all of my water is one giant one. It's more efficient. So yeah, I think this is this one over there that's making also sugarcane. It's the only one that's not connected, you know, to the main belt over there. Right, you can see the belt is actually going this side over there and going all the way here to be transformed into sugar. Then the sugar is going to be transformed into ethanol. This ethanol is going to be transformed with some plastic into disinfectant. Disinfectant plus medical equipment, which are made over here, is going to be made into medical supplies level 1. And then on top of this, we're going to add the antibiotics, which are over here, taking a bit more sugar again, coming from there, a bit of ammonia and oxygen. The ammonia is coming from over here, and the oxygen is coming from over there. For now, I'm just bringing it from over here. This way we're making the antibiotics, right, which again are added to the medical supply to make medical supply level 2. So So we have the output is medical supplies level 2 over here, and we have 2 input, which is steel and plastic over there, plus some inputs around hydrogen, nitrogen, and oxygen, which again I'm making just over there in new diesel production. I'll show you in a minute. So with this is a lot more compact. We can still upgrade it. There's some space if needed, but that's enough. With this we're producing 24, and I'm not using 24. I think I'm using 20. So we're good there. Last but not least is my water production. It's a huge water production. We're talking about more than 1,000 of water per minute, because I have 20 of those thermal desalinators, which are transforming the seawater with a bit of steam into water and brine. To be honest, quite simple. We have 20 of these seawater pumps and 20 of this thermal desalinator. It's a 1-to-1, because this is 108 and it uses 108. Then on top at level 1 we have all of the steam. All of the steam is coming from those 5 over here, 5 boilers that are taking water and coal. So obviously the water is the water we are making, right? That is repurposed, and the coal is this huge loose storage over here. So of course it does use some coal, and that's why we've been continuing to use to dig coal over there. You need coal. That is a bit of a priority, but that's the only input. There's only one input, it's coal. Everything else is done automatically, because again we have the steam there. Then there's also some exhaust. The exhaust is going the other way over here to go into those exhaust scrubber with a bit more water that we're making on site. This is going to create just a bit of sulfur. I have so much sulfur on my base right now. I'm just burning it. I know it's some pollution, but right now that's easy. And it is also creating carbon dioxide. For now I'm just sending into the atmosphere. Soon we'll be able to do something with it, so stay tuned for that. And a bit of steam low, which is going into this large cooling tower, something we just unlocked, that has a great efficiency level. From 96 we get 72 water, so it's more than 50%, versus if you look at the small cooling tower, this was 50%, right? This was 24 to 12. So we have this way we're making a bit more water. I mean, basically most of the water that we're using over here comes for free. And then with this, as I said, we're producing water and brine. We're producing so much water that we need, of course, a lot of those red pipes. There is first those 5 over here. They go into this fluid storage first, which is prioritized, to send water into this. So to send water into the boiler, to send water into the exhaust scrubber. And then if there's more water, then it can go this side. Then we have the next 5, this is this line over here. Then we have the next 5, this is this line over there. And then the final 5 are this line over here. With this, we're going into a lot of fluid storage, because I wanted to make sure, we had reserve. We are never out of water for our farms. You could say this is a bit overboard, but yeah, I like to have my reserves. And then as I said at the beginning, the 3 outputs to go into the farms, 1 line per 1 line of farm. I have of course counted, this will be enough for what I need. And then last but not least, we're making a lot of brine, right? So we need to do something with that brine. First, some of this brine is going to go over here into evaporation ponds, this time heated, because while they take electricity, I now have tons of electricity with nuclear, and I don't have so many people. So, these ones take less people. So with this, we're making a lot of salt, which is necessary for my food production over here and a couple of other small things. But then all the rest of the brine will go over here and will be dumped. If I remember, this is 15 of these to make sure that we are never blocked by the brine. We are of course not dumping any water. If we have reserves of water, if we don't need more water, this can just stop. I don't really need this to run unless, I'm really low on salt, but the reality is it never happens. So yeah, this is my new factory for water, just some coal and we make tons of water. There is one way we could make this even better with those boiler electrics, because they just take water to make the steam. So with this, we wouldn't even need the coal, and we also wouldn't create any pollution. The only problem is they do cost quite a lot of electricity and also the maintenance level 2. So in the future we may get there, but for now I felt, I do have quite a lot of coal. We can use it, it's not a problem. Of course, as always, you can find all of those blueprints on my Discord community. The link to join my Discord community is in the video description below. Last but not least, my new fuel production. which is a lot better on two fronts. It's a lot better in terms of efficiency, meaning how much diesel we're getting per liter of crude oil, and second, this is also a better way for me to actually get crude oil. So let's dive right in, starting with this crude oil. First of all, we have moved from the cargo depots level 4 to level 6, and those level 6 can also be easily upgraded to level 8. Basically, this will add 2 more over here and 2 more over there. This one over here is the classic one. It will just get crude oil from the map, from an oil rig like this one. But if you remember what I said in the last episode, this is taking a lot of people and a lot of Unity every single month. So the majority of our crude oil is actually going to come from the next one. And when I said the majority is, you can see this pipe balancer over there, where the priority in terms of input is those pipe over there. And it's just basically, if this is empty, then you can take the crude oil that comes from the normal way. But my hope is basically to pause this the whole time. So what is this one over here? Well, instead of going to an oil rig, this is a contract. We have a contract over here to give some vehicle parts level 2 against some crude oil. We're talking about this contract over here at level 6. This is 200 vehicle parts for more than 2000 crude oil. And to make those 200 vehicle parts, it's not that much. Yes, you need resources, of course, but it's not crazy. 100 of copper, 100 steel, 100 glass, 300 of iron. That's not crazy. And yes, of course, you need a bit of people, but definitely not 150 people to do this, especially with the robotics that I mentioned before. And also in terms of Unity, instead of 3.2 per month, this will just be 0.3 per month, and then 3 once the ship goes. But again, the ship will get 2000 at a time. So it doesn't go every month. It goes like every 6 months, for example. So in terms of Unity, this is way better. And this is why, of course, in the future, more and more, what I'm gonna try is to use more and more of those contracts. Another one, for example, we could do soon would be this one, to get a lot of coal, right? From lab equipment, just a bit of lab equipment, get a lot of coal. So this is how we get, the crude oil. The crude oil goes over here, and then this is this pipe there. Then I have, 2 storage of crude oil to make sure I can see when I have a problem. And then it will go at level 0 into all of those distillation. Then over here, this is pretty similar to what you've seen in the past, right? We have distillation stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3. So this will create a couple of things. They will create heavy oil and sour water. This will also create diesel, and this will create naphtha and fuel gas. This is what's being created. And to do that, you just need a bit of crude oil and a bit of steam. In terms of steam, if this whole thing is working at full speed, this is not even 4 boilers. Similar to what you just saw, this is using water and coal. We could also use, the electric ones if you want in the future, but for now, I'm doing this. The coal is delivered by trucks, actually not over here. You can see it's off. It's delivered over there because I have a line basically of all of the inputs and outputs in one place to make it very clean. But yeah, we have the coal, and then the water is actually made on site thanks to the same way of, seawater and steam, making water and brine. So we have the seawater coming from over here. We have the brine that can be dumped into the sea there. And then, yeah, the water is used into those boilers and also a couple of other places. I am also using the brine. We have a reserve of brine over there. We're using the brine to make some chlorine. So again, only 2 inputs, the coal and the crude oil, and then many outputs. So let's look over here. First, the sour water. The sour water will go into sour water strippers. We have 4 of them over here with a bit more steam to make the sulfur, the ammonia, and the water. You may remember I said I'm not using fertilizer anymore, so the ammonia actually is going to go over here directly to make nitrogen and hydrogen. Then we're also getting water, so this water is of course added to my water production over here. And we do need more water production because while I have those 2 electrolyzers over here for the ammonia, I also have a few over here for the water. We're going to make more oxygen and hydrogen with this. So now we're making hydrogen, nitrogen, and oxygen. All of these we're making over here. And this is using all of the water and the ammonia. In terms of the sulfur will actually go over here. Then we have a first pipe balancer over here, you can see, to go into the rubber. Rubber is priority number 1 because we need it for maintenance. And then you continue first, you go into this one, mixer, to make some acid. Then the acid goes over here. And then last but not least, if you still have more, you can go into this loose storage. And then this loose storage, we have an alert so that it's never full. And basically I am dumping over here. And if this ever gets full, then maybe I'll start doing something with it. But basically with this, we can make a lot of rubber, a lot of acid, using all of those inputs. So with this, we're gonna make a lot of hydrogen, a lot of oxygen, and a lot of nitrogen. And therefore, if I want, I can stop ever using air separators because they do cost 6 people. With this, we have a huge production, and that's why over here, for example, I'm just trucking the hydrogen, nitrogen, and oxygen. Maybe we can have a belt in the future, but what I mean is I don't need to produce more. This is already a big production. Plus, this is also going to be used in my cracking units over here. We have first some cracking units for the heavy oil. I think it is 4 of them over here, 4 to crack the heavy oil into more diesel and more fuel gas. Then we have 4 for the naphtha. We're gonna crack a lot of naphtha, but this is not the priority. The priority, I'm actually sending the naphtha first and foremost over here into the polymerization plants to make some plastics. So this is the priority, for the naphtha, and also into the rubber makers. So the naphtha goes first over here. This is this line. You can see there's even, a fluid storage to make sure we always have some. But if this is full, then it will go into this pipe here, all the way into those cracking units. So with this, we'll be making even more diesel and fuel gas, the same as this. And then last but not least is, what do we do with all of this fuel gas? Well, first of all, the fuel gas is actually sent over here. It is sent over here into statue of maintenance. You will find it over here in landmarks and decoration. This is costing quite a bit, 200 red parts and a few other things. But as long as you give it a bit of fuel gas, it's really not a lot, it's 2 per minute, you will reduce your maintenance by 4%. This is for the first one though. If you build more of these, then this will be 2%, 1%, 0.5%. So obviously at some point it doesn't make sense anymore, Even if you have more fuel gas, it doesn't make sense because you're getting more maintenance from the building itself probably than the reduction you're doing to your city. But yeah, I built 4 to make it, a bit a nice corner. And then if this is full, similarly we have a big pipe going all the way over here, and in this case this will not require hydrogen, but it will require oxygen, which is again why I'm producing a lot of oxygen there too. So we have this for oxygen to make even more diesel, and in this case a bit of water. So the water is obviously sent back into this to make sure it is prioritized, but again more diesel. So we're getting tons of diesel, right? We're getting diesel from over here, 36. We're getting diesel over here from the heavy oil. We're getting diesel over here from the naphtha, and we're getting diesel over here from the fuel gas. So ton of diesel that goes, into this storage. Then we're sending some diesel to the cargo depots over here and over there. And then of course, importantly, diesel over here to be used by the fuel station. So yeah, I'm really proud of this ultimate, diesel production. We have 8 distillation if we want layers. This is of course all at equilibrium, meaning it will never stall. It can stop, if all of my diesel storage is full, then it will stop, but otherwise it will never stop. And this is producing a lot of outputs like chlorine, plastic, sulfur, acid, rubber, nitrogen, oxygen, and hydrogen. So I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below, and of course you can find this on my Discord community. And with this we have way bigger reserves and we're in positive. I don't have a problem of diesel anymore. We have some reserves, I'm not worried. And therefore with this, in the next episode we can really move into the next stage. We can start making some gold, some microchips, move into lab level 4 and much more. So I hope you're excited, smash the like button, and I hope to see you next time.